more with Hugo Savinovich. This has been awesome. When you wrestled, tell us about your character, because it was so unique, your presentation and the influences you had for your wrestling character way back in the day.
Yes, at those moments, you didn't have the music and the vignettes. And I started doing things like the Roman Emperor. I used to do my hair blonde, long, with a mirror. And I used to look back at our beautiful characters from the Lucha era, where the Hollywood stars would sit to watch Gorgeous George in the first row in Los Angeles. And this man used to captivate the audience. He would come into towns and in an open luxury car and say, Gorgeous George will be tonight, and he will sell out every place. So I said, you know, if Muhammad Ali learn from Gorgeous George, I don't think it's a bad teacher for the eighth wonder of the world. I used to call myself the muñecazo, the masculine baby doll. So that hit it, and it was just fantastic as far as drawing crowds. They used to love to hate me, and that would give me more of a chance to put over my big guys coming into the territories.
So you were a flamboyant type wrestler.
Yes.
And so did you have elaborate robes and different things like that?
Just spend money getting my nails fixed and doing stuff at a time where Vince McMahon Jr. had not done it. The music videos of wrestling, only Jerry Lawler in Tennessee, Memphis, will do that. He was a pioneer. I believe I was the second one to start that, because there was something that clicked when I saw that the first time. I think it was somebody threw, I think it was Joe LeDuc throwing Jerry Lawler to the ringside table, and I said, wow, with the boom boom right music, I said, this is perfect. So I started doing that, and fans would just, every place we went, from Trinidad to Panama to the St. Thomas, St. Croix, Puerto Rico, 20, 30,000 people. They, you know, a good story with good talent and a good production will always be the winning combination.
Who were some of your favorites to manage? Because though that list you gave, I mean, some of those that were just amazing, but they were like some of the wild men of pro wrestling.
The original Sheik. The original Sheik. I mean, you didn't know if you were going to come alive over an arena. Managing Abdullah the Butcher. I mean, it was like you go back into the dressing room and I see my jackets where the knife had gone in. You know, because Abdullah would destroy the local Carlos Colon or the Rey Apoleon in Trinidad. And those were like sacred cows that you could not touch. And they wanted to kill us. You know, there was like the riot squad will come in. Yes, you had 20,000 fans, yet you made a lot of money. But, you know, it was dangerous. It was dangerous.
I wonder what was tougher, that or the streets of New York, if you think about it.
But you're right, because I believe the streets of New York helped me to not to panic with situations that were out of hand. And I always believe that because things get out of hand, it doesn't give you a free license to take it to the extremes. We always tried to protect the fans, even though hiding between some of those fans were people that were just out there to create, you know, pandemonium. But managing the guys like Haku, King Tonga, Abdullah the Butcher, Terry Funk alone, with Dorian tag team, it was one thing. But when I used to manage him alone, forget it. Bets were all off, because this guy will go crazy. And, you know, you love the wrestling, you love what he did, but if you were managing him, you know, there's no insurance with him.
That's just awesome.
Yes.
I was Hugo. All right, so Hugo, how did you get your break to get to WWE as a broadcaster?
Wow, yeah, it's crazy, because for years, when Vince McMahon Jr. started, he wanted me to work for him. But at that time, the Lucha Libre scene in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean, I was a main man, the producer. I was no longer managing. I was now the producer, the guy that created all the characters and helped Carlos and Jamaica, and the front man of the company. So besides that, and I was doing special appearances for the richest company in the Caribbean, Bacardi Company. I was doing like live events for them. So there was so much money with short trips, and I had already wrestled for 20 years. Vince said, listen, I want you to work for me. And at the time, he was starting it all with Hulkamania, and Wendi Richter was the champion, and I was married to Wendi. So to me, I said to Vince, it doesn't look like a good deal, because if you get upset with either of us, you're gonna fire the two of us, and then we're going to be in trouble. And that's exactly what happened a couple of years later, when the people think that Montreal Screwjob was the first one, and it wasn't. It was Madison Square Garden, Moolah with a spider later against Wendi Richter, and Wendi wanted to kill her, and the referee Jack Latz counted. It was horrible because it wasn't even close to that. But I was there, and then it cost us one of the checks, so I knew that it was the right time. Years go by, and then Vince calls me at 8 o'clock in the morning. He says, Bret Hart and Sabio Vega talk to me that you're not doing wrestling for Carlos, and I want you to come down. But he says, I don't want you to come down to be an announcer. I want you to come down to be creative with us and also to produce for us. So I said, okay. He gave me a handshake. He took me to his mansion, and he said I had the long hair and all the earrings, all the chains I used to use. And he said, if you start working with me, it will be a suit and a tie. Hair has to be cut off. There will be no gladiator earrings or all the gold. And I said, listen, if we make the agreement, hair goes up. I'll get you the tie. I'll take the chains off. And for 1 month, he gave me 2 weeks of limousine driving. He said the last 2 weeks, you have a car rental, and then we'll come over and sit, and if you're happy and I'm happy, we'll do it. 4 weeks went by. I did some, at that time they were doing radio. People don't even remember this. They were doing radio on West, what was that, West 1 or something?
Westwood 1?
Yeah, they do the NFL games.
Yep.
I was doing it. I was doing the commentary with Howard Finkel, the Fink. It was crazy stories. And then by the first month, the last week, Vince says, I like what you're doing. I want you on board. And he didn't even wait for me to tell him how much I wanted. He put a number there, and my eyes opened up. It was really good money. Loved it. Handshake. And from there to 17 years altogether, an adventure with him. I never had to fight for a race. He was always in charge of me, and that's why people say, oh man, you don't talk bad about him. Why should I? He was 17 years. My family, Linda McMahon, will come and kiss me, hug me, so Stephanie, so Shane. So just because you start working for people, just because they at one point they don't want to do business with you anymore and they want to go another route, doesn't mean that now you're going to knock the people that were with you for 70 years. I love him and I bless him, and look what he's done. A global phenomenon. I mean, billion-something dollars with NBC Universal, billion-something dollars with Fox. Come on, he's a genius.
You mentioned you had to change, though, as far as your appearance. Was it difficult at first when you had to change?
Oh, my goodness.
And you were looking like,
yes,
oh, my God, what do I do?
The first day that I put the suit and the tie, with my hair was short, there was no earrings, I felt like I was naked. It took me like 2 weeks to adjust, but I believe that I was part of what generated with Vince, Pat Patterson, Bruce Pritchard, then Jerry Briscoe came on board, and then the rest is history. But it was that group that started opening up doors to what the company it's now. That little group, we didn't have 9 writers, we didn't have the budget that they have now. We did, it was all of us working hard, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have a vacation. My vacations were like two days. People don't even know that, but I'm so glad, because I believe that I was a little help, in the big world I was a little help, but at least I know that little made a difference.
Hugo, because you mentioned Wendi Richter.
Yes.
And that whole rock and wrestling.
Yes.
You weren't working for them at the time,
no,
but obviously she was a huge part of
yes.
that. What did you think looking back at rock and wrestling and what that did for pro wrestling?
Well, it was having Cyndi Lauper in the corner of a female wrestler. It was a cross promotion, tremendous idea, and it hit good because of the character, from Wendi to the colorful rock star, Cyndi Lauper, and the videos. And she even put Wendi in one of her videos, the She-Bop video. So everything went good. She would go to some of the concerts, and it was really, really, really good. I believe that started opening up more ideas of Vince of doing what he's done today, where he has movies, where he has all these crossover promotion things, where he has his stars on Entertainment Tonight with some reality stars. Now the Miz and his wife about to start something.
Ms. and Mrs.
So I believe that we were part of that point in life where things were just happening.
Favorite announcers? We have a minute. Favorite announcers you had, Spanish and English?
Oh, wow. Carlos Cabrera, the boys. Jim Ross says, the boys. Jim Ross said to me, if I had the voice of Carlos Cabrera, that's it. And Carlos Cabrera, fantastic. And then we have from Gordon Solie. I used to love that. And the Gorilla Monsoon with
Bobby Heenan.
Bobby Heenan, fantastic. But there was also the Vince McMahon Jr. going crazy when he did the play-by-play that many people forget. If you want to get, passion, and he will lose half of his voice, you got to see those tapes of Vince McMahon Jr. doing the play-by-play.
Social media for you, Hugo? Social media for you?
Yes, Lucha Libre Online, that's my page, Lucha Libre Online. We'll do everything on Lucha Libre Online, and of course the YouTube Lucha Libre Online. Crazy stuff, respect and passion for wrestling.